All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are completely shifting your mental model of AI. It is time to stop looking at it as just a software story and start seeing it for what it truly is, a massive, heavy industrial system. And here is the stark reality we need to hit on right out of the gate. You can order a piece of silicon, a GPU, today, and have it racked in a data center by tomorrow. But a power grid? A power grid cannot teleport. So the very first question we absolutely must ask about any new AI data center isn't where the chips have arrived. It's where are the hundreds or literally thousands of megawatts of electricity actually coming from? When are they going to connect to the grid? And crucially, who is paying for that grid expansion? Because the most expensive bill in the AI race isn't the processing power itself. It's the substations, the grid connections, and the financing contracts that make the whole shebang run like a digital factory. To really understand this, we're going to use a simple four-part whiteboard framework today: capacity, grid connection, contracts, and cash flow. Okay, let's dive into step one: capacity, chips versus power. So, a lot of folks equate buying chips with acquiring computing power. But honestly, a server without continuous power, cooling, and a facility is just really expensive inventory. It is literally just CapEx, capital expenditure, sitting in cardboard boxes. It only transforms into a sellable service once it's plugged in, cooled, and actively allocated to a customer. The time gap between those two states is absolutely critical. It dictates whether your capital is just sleeping on a balance sheet or if it's actually out there generating revenue. And this is exactly how the biggest players are already thinking. The cloud giants are completely changing their vocabulary. Take AWS, for example. They stated they added 3.9 gigawatts of power capacity in 2025, SO7, and they plan to double their total capacity by the end of 2027, SO7. Now, note that this is just one specific corporate statement, so it doesn't represent the entire industry, but it perfectly hits the nail on the head. Megawatts and gigawatts are the new baseline metrics for operations, not just GPU counts. Power is the true measure of capacity. Moving right along to step two, grid connection, the hardest constraint. So why is this the hardest? Well, because unlike chips, you cannot simply bypass grid constraints by throwing money at them. Renting a massive plot of land absolutely does not equal having power. A project has to survive a strict causal chain to work: site selection, transmission upgrades, generation resource availability, and passing some seriously rigid local reliability tests. Basically, you have to prove to local authorities that you can be reliably supplied with electricity during the grid's absolute most stressed peak hours, all without causing blackouts. The truly scarce asset here is the right to reliable power at a specific location, at a specific time, at a cost that actually makes sense. And the sheer scale of the power required, it is staggering. The International Energy Agency projects that global data center electricity demand could roughly double by 2030. They're estimating an increase from 485 terawatt hours in 2025 to about 950 terawatt hours by 2030, driven largely by AI. Now, I want to explicitly state that this is a prediction, not destiny, but it tells us loud and clear that electricity has moved from being a background operational cost to a frontline growth variable. We're already seeing forecasts of exactly how this massive data center load is going to strain specific regional grids. Predictions point out that data centers are a major driver pushing U.S. electricity demand back up. Specifically in the PJM grid territory, the Virginia and Dominion area is projected to hit maximum summer peak growth between 2026 and 2030, and that is almost entirely driven by data center loads. Which brings us to a massive, often ignored hurdle: social licensing. Market reports explicitly tie these massive new loads directly to local concerns, S12. Think about it. When a giant data center comes to town, locals immediately ask, wait, is my electricity bill going to go up? Will our grid reliability suffer? Who exactly is paying for these grid upgrades? Connecting to the grid isn't just an engineering puzzle. It requires navigating social licensing, shared costs, and strict local reliability regulations. All right, step three, contracts, unlocking the CapEx. When you hear headlines about tens of billions in AI investments, you can't just throw it all into one giant bucket labeled growth. You have to break that massive CapEx bucket down into verifiable milestones. Long before the power even gets turned on, you need to know the available megawatts, the exact grid connection date, the locked-in customer contracts, and the projected revenue per megawatt. Because responsible mega investments absolutely require long-term customer contracts to mitigate utilization risk. For instance, Amazon has noted that a significant portion of its roughly $200 billion capex for 2026 is tied to customer agreements that are either completed, signed, or deeply advanced, citing OpenAI's greater than $100 billion commitment as a prime example, SO7. When the numbers get this unbelievably huge, investors and regulators stop looking at flashy tech demos and start asking hard questions about asset utilization and financing costs. And that leads us to our final step, Section 4, Cash Flow, the System Story. This is where the true danger lies in the causal chain. The biggest risk isn't just that there's no power. The real nightmare scenario is this. The power arrives, the chips arrive, but the cash? The cash arrives late. If infrastructure is locked in and depreciating, but your revenue is delayed, it's going to trigger an absolute cash flow disaster. The AI debate then quickly shifts from talking about model parameters to the oldest questions in industrial history. How long is the construction period? What's the capacity utilization? And can the orders actually cover the cost of capital? Now, you might be wondering, wait a minute, aren't AI models and chips getting wildly more efficient? Won't that just solve the power problem? Well, this brings us to what we call the efficiency paradox. Efficiency is incredible, for sure, but it doesn't automatically mean less total power demand. Think of it like widening a highway. Lower unit costs for AI simply make it cheaper to run more tasks, use much longer contexts, and trigger more frequent inferences. Efficiency just spurs even more demand, keeping the pressure right back on the infrastructure. And we know for a fact that massive demand is already driving on that highway. Microsoft disclosed that Azure revenue exceeded $100 billion for the first time in fiscal year 26. Meanwhile, Amazon's AWS reported a Q2 2026 net sales run rate of roughly $169 billion. This proves that real paying demand actually exists. So efficiency isn't going to make the infrastructure go away. It'll simply increase the value generated by every single megawatt you manage to plug in. So what does this all actually mean for us? Moving from a chip story to a system story changes the game for literally everyone. For users, your AI's speed and pricing are now directly shaped by hidden power constraints. For founders, there's a massive premium on creating efficient tasks that make the best use of limited, prioritized capacity. And for policymakers, the main challenge is no longer just tech regulation, it's figuring out how to fairly share the cost of grid reliability and upgrades. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. The next time you see a headline shouting about some massive new AI infrastructure investment, don't just get swept up by the sheer number of GPUs. Use the 4 steps we learned today. Look for the power connection, the social licensing, the signed contracts, and the cash flow. And always leave yourself pondering this one provocative question: when does this new megawatt actually start making money? Keep asking the right questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.